So I'm out here this morning at the barn. I'm gonna go and do a active rewarming. I'm gonna go exercise my system. I'm gonna take all this theory and put it into play, try some new pieces of kit, and go put my clothing system to the test. This is super important that that we understand the limitations of the clothing systems that we're taking out into the backcountry. Because if we get into a situation where we are wet, we fall in a creek, we're trapped without rain gear in a late afternoon storm, that confidence we have that not only can the gear perform, but that we know how to manage that situation. So we're at the trailhead, sun's just coming up over these mountains. This is the system I wanted to test today, and I think the conditions are perfect for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull these wet clothes out. Now I'm gonna wring the water out because we don't need to be out here for 6 hours. We can just be out here for 3 or 4, but these clothes are going to be wet, and they're going to be cold, and they're going to drive an urgency for me to begin hiking when I put them on, and that's exactly what we want. I want to begin to generate body heat, and that body heat is going to push that moisture out and dry those layers. What I don't want to do is move so fast under the burden of going uphill that I begin to sweat, because when I sweat, then I'm just adding more moisture back into the system. So I really have to kind of be an active participant here, really kind of think about what I'm doing, really be kind of tuned in. And then because we got these thermals sucking downhill, I don't want to cool off too much. I'm trying to generate heat to dry out. I'm going to put this light windstopper jacket on. So what I'm wearing right now is I have synthetic briefs. I've got a pair of nylon pants. These are Sitka scent pants. I've got a polyester synthetic lightweight top. I've got this active insulated jacket, and I've got a windstopper jacket. The last thing I'm gonna do before I start hiking is I'm gonna cap my chimney, I'm gonna put a beanie on, and then as we hike, I'm gonna take that beanie on and off to kind of regulate my heat so that I don't get too hot and begin to sweat, but I don't wanna cool down. I wanna keep my metabolic engine going, my internal engine going, my body heat pumping to start pushing this moisture out. So I'm gonna throw my pack on, we're gonna start heading up the mountain. So I'm gonna start my stopwatch and time as we check in and see how long it takes the layers to start drying, and then we'll see what the total time is. So I'm gonna start that now, and then we'll keep checking in. So I've been hiking steady uphill 25 minutes now. I'm feeling warm, I feel stable. I don't feel that I'm gonna become hypothermic or anything. I'm stopping to do this video. I don't feel like I have to just keep jamming. My metabolic engine's churning. I'm starting to feel dry. If you look at my pants, you can start to see some areas that are starting to dry. Obviously thighs, because that's a big muscle group. They're working hard to go uphill. That's gonna generate a lot of heat. That's gonna start drying out quick. And then, if you look at this active insulation underneath, you can see moisture visibly coming through. So that's exactly what I want to see. That means that my body is pushing moisture through the layers. These layers are pulling the moisture away from my skin. I've got the windstopper jacket on because we still have these cool thermals sucking downhill. I may take that off at a certain point, either when I get too warm and I feel like I'm countering what I'm trying to do, or we break into the sun here. I may not need that windstopper jacket on. But yeah, I'm feeling really good right now. So it's been 47 minutes since we left the trailhead. I'm feeling warm. I want to take advantage of the first sunshine we came to. If you're having a hard time generating that body heat, because your physiology is different than somebody else's, take the time to hydrate and to feed that internal engine, right? So So consume some trail food, whatever you have, that's gonna stoke the fire to help create that body heat that's imperative to drying these clothes out. So, you know, don't feel like you can't stop. Everybody's gonna be a little different. This might be an opportunity to maybe strip a layer. Because of that sun, the thermals aren't as strong. I'm gonna keep it on just a little bit longer, this windstopper layer, to kind of block that convective cooling. But then I get up around the corner back into the sun. I'm probably gonna strip this off. I'm feeling very dry. I feel absolutely fine right now. But like I said, I don't wanna waste that. I wanna feed that metabolic engine. I'm gonna hydrate because that helps as well. And then I'm gonna keep jamming up the trail, and we'll check in here in maybe about another 30 minutes. So started to heat up. I'm removing my beanie as we're coming up this last pull. It's starting to get into the sun now. So I pulled that off to dump some heat because I don't want to overheat, right? I don't want to sweat, because that's counter to what I'm trying to do, which is dry out. I think what I'm going to do, we've been going, you know, an hour and 15-ish right now. I'm going to strip this layer off. We've gained enough altitude. Even though it hasn't warmed a lot, we've gained a lot of altitude. The sun's out, it's definitely gonna warm. I don't need this windstopper on anymore. So I'm gonna strip that, and that's really gonna start moving a lot of moisture. And I think maybe in another 20 minutes, I'm gonna be pretty close to completely dry. So it's been an hour and 45, hour and 50 since we left the truck. I'm pretty much completely dry. Gonna stop here, gonna hydrate, gonna eat something. First thing I did when I stopped though, I puffed up, right? Because I don't wanna give up all that body heat that I've generated on the way up here. I wanna trap that. So beanie went back on, because it's been coming on and off as I've come up the hill. Puffs on, gonna have a little water. You know, the last couple things that are always going to be the longest to dry, under my armpits, kind of that groin area, and then where the waist belt and my backpack are. So they're going to dry out right now with this puff on. I'm going to sit here for, you know, 10 minutes or so. And when I start the hike again, you know, I'm going to be completely dry. I'm going to feel real good. And by the time we get back to the truck after 3 hours, it'll absolutely be no factor. So, you know, my system is performed to my expectations. It's done exactly what I wanted to. You know, this technical clothing system I put together, I have confidence in it now. You know, if I am caught out in a worst case scenario, I know it's going to perform up to my expectations. And that's going to give me a lot of confidence to go out and not worry so much about the weather when I'm moving around the mountains. So it's been 3 hours and 11 minutes since we left the truck. We're back. I am completely dry. There is nothing on my body that's even remotely damp, let alone wet. Obviously the system worked kind of as designed and kind of as intended, and kind of lived up to my expectations. So, you know, today was a pretty nice weather day. You know, if you're gonna try this, you know, I highly recommend you do it. You know, start doing it on some good weather days, especially if it's kit that you haven't used in the past. And then slowly work into doing this exercise in maybe a little bit more inclement weather, where maybe you have to wear rain gear, or, you know, it's maybe a little colder, or the dew point's a little higher. And really begin to kind of ease in and see if the system is going to perform to the environment you're going to go into, for the activity you're going to do. You know, and that's how you gain that confidence. So the last thing I would say is you have to be safe when you're doing this. So, you know, this is kind of type 2 fun. This is, you know, something you do to train. You know, it can be a little uncomfortable. You want to make sure you're safe. You want to make sure you do this with a partner. When you're learning this, you want to make sure you do it, you know, at a somewhat popular trailhead, so there's other people around. You know, don't go too far. You don't have to hike, you know, 5 miles in. You can hike, you know, 1.5 miles in and come back, or hike, you know, one way on the trailhead and then the other way. But, you know, safety is paramount when you're doing this. You know, I've been doing this for 20 some years. You know, this is how I test all my clothing. This is how I test, you know, new, you know, fabrics and insulations when I'm developing products. So I've done it for a while and I have that confidence. You know, I want you all to do this and build that confidence, but I want you to be safe so that you can really get the full benefit out of this exercise.